Hey guys, what's up, everybody? Let's see if we can get some viewers in here. A little later than normal. I'm out here on the East Coast. It's like 10:45. Let's see who we got. Gregory, how you doing, man? Let's get some viewers in here before we start chatting. I'm going to invite my buddy Forsetî over. I say over, but onto the stream here. Or he did a new release on my record label Graydient this past week. I thought we'd hop on here and chat about it. Oh, there he is.
Right on schedule. Right
How
on
you doing,
cue.
Nick?
Good. How are
Where?
you?
Good. Where are you right now?
I am in Orange County at my auntie's place with her and my mom and grandma and other auntie, just doing Mother's Day things.
Big Mother's Day festivities.
Yes. And
Totally, totally.
and you're back home too,
Yeah,
right?
I'm out on the East Coast. It's a little later here. Um,
Yeah.
I
It's also pretty late here.
yeah, I feel like I'm self-sabotaging because I'm setting my clock to East Coast time right ahead of EDC, which is gonna, you know,
Oh, yep.
7 a.m. nights. Right before that, I'm going 3 hours back. So
Well, you might as well just stay up all night one
yeah,
night at that point.
exactly. That's why we're chatting here tonight.
Yeah. This
um,
is what it looks like here. It's kind of gloomy,
oh,
but
that's nice. It's dark here. It's like
yeah.
pitch
It's like 11
black.
there, right?
What's that?
It's like almost 11 there.
Yeah,
Or
almost 11 p.m. I have a security camera at my house. I watch my cats sometimes when I'm on vacation or traveling, and it's like,
are,
wow, it's like sunny out.
yeah.
Genuinely, like
Is
20
it
minutes ago.
is it one of the cameras that has a microphone built in so you can say their names and like freak them out?
Yep, yep, yep. I use this. There's a app that you can use an old iPhone as like a security camera. So all my old iPhones sitting around are now like various cat cam angles in my house, which is awesome.
Nice.
Um, well, I wanted to chat today a little bit about the new release that you just put out with us on Graydient, The Great Divide, which is an
Yes.
amazing record, by the way. I've seen a lot of people playing it and a lot of awesome support on social media.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Thank you. It's great to have it out, and especially on Gradient.
yeah, I, I don't know. I mean, obviously people wouldn't know, but like usually my timeline for Gradient Records is like 6 months of like
Oh my God. We
planning or what have you. I'm
yeah.
sure it's the same for
But
you guys at World Tree,
yeah.
but this one was like Nick sent it to me like 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I was like, okay, this is like perfect Gradient material. Let's get this out like as soon as possible, and
And luckily we
we did it.
had a little bit of time. Just
Yeah.
like this couple days ago, Friday was like I think the only slot you had basically.
Yeah, exactly. Because we have more releases coming up in the next few weeks, which I guess you guys can also be excited for. Um, but yeah, man, I heard this release recently. I feel as though it's been around for a while. Like, how long have you had it in the oven?
I I started this song, I want to say like November or December, so only like 6 months ago max. And the first iteration of it was nearly done. It was the entire arrangement how it is now, just minus the chord progression at the breakdown. So I wrote the chords in that breakdown, like version 3 or 4 or something. But everything else is like kind of the same, just like uh, making the mix better every time, small micro
Yeah,
adjustments every time to get it to where it is now.
yeah, I have a habit of doing that as well and just never finishing stuff.
Yeah,
um, I'm sure you can relate to that, but I'm glad that
definitely.
we got this one finished and over the line in a timely manner. Um, I'm so glad it's out. I definitely plan on playing it in some DJ sets. I think it's like
Hell yeah.
one of the more playable things we've put out. So
Thank you,
super
man.
excited to hear it
Yeah.
live. And you
And it's
guys just played it out, right? At you did that
yeah.
show the other night.
Yeah, Villager had a show with Karma for her release party at this really cool venue in downtown called Catwalk. It's literally right next door to Exchange.
Oh, nice.
30 second walk from Beelman's, our a
Or a
regular
regular
a
spot.
regular
Yeah.
spot. Um,
Man, I
yeah,
need to
super
go. I
cool.
haven't been yet.
Yeah, that was
Um,
our first time there. It was like this. You go downstairs, so you're like underground, and it's like this
yeah.
total concrete techno bunker place
Wow.
with like stairs above the DJ booth and like a bunch of lighting and production and TVs on the back wall and like yeah, it's a cool
I
space.
I have. I mean, you sent me some clips. I mean, I'm obviously out of town. I couldn't be there, unfortunately, but you sent me some clips, and they're really awesome. I think we're gonna put them up on the Gradient page in the next day or two.
Sick. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. People seemed to love it when I went up and played it. Got some good comments about it.
Yeah, and excitingly, you're gonna be doing a DJ set with us again. Finally,
Yes. Yes,
um,
finally.
those of you who like have been following the Gradient page for a while, like Nick did one of our coolest DJ gallery sessions ever. It was like full production with like a cinema lens and
Yeah,
cinema filter that gave
yeah.
this really
On
cool
a
effect.
on a sliding rail too for one of the
Yep.
cameras and yeah, that was a lot of fun. We for that shoot we did it. My two camera guys came over at like 7 or 8 in the evening, and then just like setting up and finalizing things we didn't finish until like 2 a.m.
Oh man. Yeah,
Even though it's just an hour long set.
it's such a good set though. It's one of my favorites in like the Gradient history. If you
Yeah,
guys
thank you,
want to check
man.
that out, it'll be on YouTube or it's on YouTube somewhere. I don't have a link handy,
Yeah,
but Google forsetî DJ set Gradient and you'll find it.
yeah, it'll come up.
Um, yeah, yeah, man, that was awesome. This one coming up is going to be less
Yes,
of a production, but
it'll
still really cool.
it'll be less of production, but it will be longer.
Right.
I'm planning on 2 hours, hopefully, if not longer, and it'll be featuring a lot of music from more friends, whereas the last one that I did was all original music. This one is going to have still a bunch of originals from me, and then just yeah, a lot of music from friends and colleagues in the industry, people I look up to.
I'm excited to hear it.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I'm really hyped for that. That'll be Wednesday. Yeah.
yeah, we're shooting for
Yes.
to premiere it Wednesday evening.
We'll have a post up so you guys can see like when that's going up, probably on the Gradient account in the next few days.
Yeah,
Um,
it'll be on Twitch, and you guys live premiere on YouTube at the same time.
we just do Twitch and then YouTube like a few days later,
Okay,
usually. Yeah.
cool.
But yeah, it'll be live on Twitch on Wednesday. Be on the lookout for that. We'll make an event in the Discord or something.
Yeah,
Um, so why don't you tell me like about the inspiration for the song?
sure.
Because like there's this really cool name, The Great Divide, and there's obviously the fantasy backdrop of everything that you do. But I'm curious, like specifically for this song, what was the
Yeah.
inspiration going?
So, as many of my producer friends who know me personally know, I'm a big advocate of stock Ableton.
Hmm.
And uh, if you're looking for anything, like obviously the stock Ableton, like electronic specific synths, like they're kind of mid.
Right.
But all the other things that are not like electronic synth focused, all the presets, like there's some good stuff in there. And the main bells that you hear, the dun, na, 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 that's all just stock
Dude,
Ableton
you're preaching
presets
to
that
the choir.
that's all stuff that I was just specifically looking for. Like I had that melody in my head, and I thought some bells would be nice. So I went into Ableton and came up with that little thing, and then the super heavy bass stuff is also stock Ableton, just like four wavetables stacked on top of each other. But yeah, so I finished the production pretty quick, and for the longest time, up until I sent the song to you and you said yes, there was
Yeah,
no name for that song.
we
Um,
just kind
so
of
so you said yes to the song, and I was like, all right, let me set just a tiny bit of time aside, like meditate on it, look through my notes app for all the untaken track titles, and the Great Divide, like that just felt
it's
fitting.
really it does fit very well, and I'm glad like we managed to reflect that in the art as well, which I
Yes,
think is really awesome.
and shout out to you for helping me achieve that vision with the art. It was definitely both of our.
Yeah,
It was a collaborative effort between us for that collage art. It's turned out cool, I
it
think.
is is super cool. It's one of my favorites that we've done in a while.
Yeah,
Um, yeah,
and
going going back to the preset thing, I just had to mention my debut on Mousetrap. It's called Resident Tryhard. It's like the one
yep,
sampling Joel.
classic.
Um, the main lead on that is a Ableton preset, marimba, and I
Marimba
at
preset,
this I
nice.
was in this point in that around that time in my career where I was in a similar place where I was just trying to use Ableton stock, and nobody should ever like overlook the power of Ableton stock. Uh,
No, especially if you're on 10 or later, because
yes,
I think
yes,
10 is when they introduced Wavetable, which is a crazy synth.
Serum baby version, or
Yeah,
like not
yeah,
necessarily even
it's
baby version, just light serum basically.
yeah, it is
Yeah,
light serum because it has the same thing where you can just affect anything with anything else
right.
within the synth. Yeah. Fun fact: I don't even own serum.
Oh, really? That's so funny.
It's surprising because like that's the first thing you buy as an
Yeah.
electronic music producer.
What would you say are your like five essential tools? Not necessarily plugins, but things that you can't go without being creative. For being creative.
Creative music stuff specifically, or do we want to include like mixing mastering stuff?
Let's just expand it to full creative scope.
So everything.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, I'm good. I'm literally gonna say two of those slots are gonna be Ableton's analog and Ableton's wavetable. Um,
Nice.
also, uh, I want to say Ableton Saturator too, because you can
Yeah.
do some crazy things with that.
You get some
So,
gnarly sounds
all right,
from Saturator. Yeah.
I'm gonna give three to Ableton, and my two others. I'm gonna give a boring honorable mention to uh, Isotope Elements
Hmm.
as like a mastering limiter. It's
Sure.
very versatile, very like just a good limiter. Um, I want to say Valhalla
Yep. There it is.
Reverb.
Yep.
Yeah, that thing sounds awesome.
I was
Obviously,
gonna say that the two weaknesses of Ableton are
the
compression
reverb.
and reverb.
Yeah,
Like mastering compression and a good like well-rounded reverb are like the two things it sorely needs.
yeah.
Um,
There for number five is it's actually a multi-band. I guess it's considered multi-band compression. It's called ST4B.
yeah,
It's just four knobs. Each one is a different frequency band, and you can turn it up for slower attack, sharper, plucky kind of thing to get between the frequencies. Or if you turn the knob the other way, it does the opposite effect. So it's really good for bringing out frequencies of a certain instrument
right,
that you want
right.
in either direction. Um, yeah,
Do
ST4B.
you
I think
use
it's free.
a lot of multi-band in your stuff?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I do.
yeah. I know it's controversial, but I'm still such an OTT guy. For like it has a
like a
sound to it that I like.
yeah,
You know,
like a
maybe it's like the
hundred
trance in
percent,
me.
100% wet OTT, or like a
No, no,
three, like
no.
a 4%
Like a four
kind of.
percent OTT kind of guy.
Okay,
Yeah,
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 I will do that like once every 20 tracks or 20 songs, I
yeah.
think.
It's just a really good tonal effect, I think.
Yeah, it's definitely it's become such a ubiquitous sound in
Yeah,
electronic
yeah.
music that it's just like part of.
Especially progressive and trance. Like it's got like it's teeth in it. Like super saws are like 80% OTT at this point, I think. Um,
Yeah,
yeah. I would have to say like for me it would be like Valhalla Vintage Verb, Serum Pro L from Isotope is one of mine.
yeah,
Which is kind of like the sister plugin of Ozone.
yeah.
Um,
I'd say it's
yep.
a little louder, a little. You can crank more out of a mix
Right.
from it, but I mean, you don't always necessarily want that. But
Yeah, exactly. I would say Pro L has like the EDM sound, like it or not. Like I've tried to mix band music or whatever for clients, and like there's always a hint of EDM in there if you use Pro L. So I always reach for
Mhm.
like a newfangled Elevate or something for softer, more like dynamic stuff. But going for that like really like blow your face off compression, um, I think it's the best. I used to use Elements or Isotope Ozone for like everything prior to that though. So I
Yeah,
definitely love that stuff too.
that's one
Somebody said, "Can you guys write this down and make a post of it or something, please?"
of. Well, it'll be saved. You can
Yeah, you can
come back
rewatch
and
this. We're gonna upload it. Yeah.
yeah,
Um.
yeah,
So back to the art direction of the song. I wanted to pick your brain about what kind of inspired the cover art, and also like we can discuss the process of how we landed
yeah,
on it because I think it's a pretty cool conversation.
yeah, yeah. Let's start with the process, like how we pick the specific images, and then I've got something here planned. You'll see in a second. So the big front and center thing is just a picture of an eyeball. It ended up being my eyeball. I borrowed my sister's little fisheye lens attachment that goes on an iPhone 8, and a villager took that picture of my eye, and we ended up using that. But before that, I found this free online macro photography picture of a similar thing, and that was kind of a
The
yeah from
mock up.
the
Yeah.
yeah a mock-up. Uh, we used, besides that picture that villager took of my eye, we used like all stock, like free for commercial use pictures from like NASA's website, which you can use
Yeah.
if there's no person in the picture and there's no visible like trademark like the NASA logo or something. You can use NASA's like astrophotography stuff.
We used a lot of their stock video as well, like
Yeah,
from the telescope in the visualizer stuff as
yeah, and
well, which I
for
think
the
was so instrumental in like how it came out.
yeah, and luckily the two pictures that we chose for the suns that are like behind the eye, excuse me, the eyeball. Those both those pictures had matching videos of like the same thing, so it worked
Right.
out super well. And then the smaller triangle is a picture of the southern pole of Jupiter, and if you zoom in on it, like each of those little twirls is like a giant storm, and there's a bunch of them clustered around each other, and like each one of those is like the size of the Earth or something. It's just crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
And then
I I I love it.
there's just the picture of that really crisp. I think it's technically a full color image, but just the way the time it was shot,
Mhm.
it was on the beach. It was just like the black and gray sand and the white frothy ocean. It was it's a great divide, so to
Yes, it
say.
is. There's a really cool Easter egg that I, as a designer, am into. When we were originally placing the objects and the cover art, you can see it on his Instagram page. But there's some text next to one of the sun images that we inverted, and um, it's actually information and metadata on the photo itself from NASA that we actually kept in the image because we thought it looked really awesome and
Yeah, it
kind of
it
told the
looked cool.
story. Yeah,
And then
yeah.
we add, if you zoom in on it, you can see my little logo we added onto the end.
Go zoom in onto it and then give the post a like.
Yeah,
um, yeah, you'll find a little forsetî Easter egg in the cover art as well.
yeah.
Um,
So
yeah,
that was the process, and then I'm I'm tempted to. I mean, I like analyzing art and like getting into the specific details, but for
yeah.
this one, there is a quote from my boy J.R.R. Tolkien, not from The
Boy.
Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit, but from the Silmarillion, and I've got my one of my Silmarillion copies here. A nice hold on, a nice like leather bound copy.
Oh,
Um,
that's beautiful.
it's and this also allows me to go on a little rant about Tolkien, which I rarely get to do. So indulge me for a minute.
Of course.
It's kind of common knowledge that Tolkien was like a devout Catholic his whole life.
I actually
Um,
didn't know that.
yeah, so similar to like C.S. Lewis, but he's more subtle about it. He like definitely does more world building and like mixing a bunch of things. But it definitely comes in his works, and in the Silmarillion, it's like the backstory of Middle Earth. It's like all the creation stories, the history of like thousands and thousands of years before Lord of the Rings. And the book starts off with the creation story of the universe, basically. And you'd expect, since he's a devout Catholic, for it to be, like similar to like the Earth
Intensely
is
like Genesis.
six
Yeah.
like the Earth is 6,000 years old,
Yeah.
and but no, it's very, very like cosmic.
Very
Like
cool.
there is a creator god named Eru, the one Iluvatar, and he creates a bunch of basically angels. They're called Ainur, and they sing basically this giant, cosmic symphony thing, and he uses their song to basically create the universe.
Wow.
Yeah, and the Earth, Middle Earth, is just, it's just one planet out of the entire universe. That's like canon within Middle Earth, which
That's
is
so sick.
it's a cool thing to think about.
Right.
And there is a just one of my favorite Tolkien quotes. Let me pull it up real
As you
quick. It's like
do,
literally,
that's just an interesting concept to think about. Like all of these worlds that we're so familiar with, we don't even think of like the universes of those worlds.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it's really cool that that's like built into the lore.
yes. And we're lucky that this got released. It was the Silmarillion was published after his death by his son, like 2 years
Ah, I
after.
see.
Yeah, 1978, I think it was
Was it
published,
like
and he
an
died.
internal book that he was working on, or like a book that
It's
he finished that was like the lore of the world?
so it is a collection of stories that he had been writing basically his entire life. He
Right.
started these stories before The Hobbit, which came out in
Wow.
1936 or 7, and then Lord of the Rings came out in 54, 5, and 6. But these stories he had been writing like since the teens and 20s,
Right.
and like his whole life, just editing and updating them, and like so the ones we have in the Silmarillion are like the most final versions, essentially. But
What's
yeah,
that quote?
let me read the quote. I'm like leaving everyone hanging here, like a 10-minute rant about Tolkien, but it's what I do. Also,
He's the inspiration.
sorry, I can't like see any comments. My phone is kind of old, but
Oh,
so
it's okay.
if anyone's saying anything, just like
Yeah,
let me know.
we have some pretty good action in here. If there's any questions for Nick or I, you guys can let us know in the comment section. Sonic Buster says, "Yay, Tolkien history literature nerds over here."
Yes, Sonic Buster, shout out.
Hey, Sextasy. We have Sextasy in the chat. We
Oh,
have
nice. What's up, Sextasy?
Bolts Productions. Ricky, good
I
to
was
see
at
you.
Sextasy last night. We went
Oh,
to
cool.
Villager and I. We played Control Room last night. Before that, our friend Cyboy played uh, a techno show opening for Luca Lush right across
Nice.
the street from Control Room. So we went to Cyboy show, then we went to Control Room, and then after Control Room we went to Sextasy and
You guys are
met up
night
with some friends.
creatures.
Yeah,
The
we are.
creature, the spirits of the night, which I
And
am not, but
to our detriment sometimes
I
because I
can.
was very tired today.
Yeah. No worries, no worries. I totally can empathize. I'm gonna become a night creature for EDC this week. So
Yeah, I wish I was going. Like all of our friends are going, and I'll just be at home, relaxing,
reading,
reading,
reading
relaxing.
Tolkien.
Yeah.
But yeah, hit us with the quote.
Yes, finally, the quote here. This quote is pretty beautifully encapsulates what I my vision uh, for the song and the art direction. So, first chapter, he's talking about what I said about the creation of the universe. Uh, and he's talking specifically about Middle Earth, like the planet Middle Earth, where all the stories take place.
Right.
And this habitation might seem a little thing to those who consider only the majesty of the Ainur, the angels, and not their terrible sharpness, as who should take the whole field of Arda, which is the universe, for the foundation of a pillar, and so raise it until the cone of its summit were more bitter than a needle, or who consider only the immeasurable vastness of the world, which still the Ainur are shaping, and not the minute precision to which they shape all things therein.
Very
That's
cool.
like page 3 of the Silmarillion,
I
and
have to read it.
it's it's hard to read. I've read it twice, and it's like so dense,
Dense.
and
Dense.
yeah. But once you get used to Tolkien's language, it gets
Yeah.
easier. Having read a lot,
Would you say
but
that
yeah,
that particular work of his is like a large inspiration for the Great Divide?
um, probably that first chapter
Yeah.
where it's the creation story. I would definitely say so, especially with that quote. It's it's about like the huge magisterial things in the universe and the the giant
Yeah.
spaces between them, all the biggest things, but then also the tiniest things and the spaces between those, and similarity up and down the micro and macro scale.
I love that, and I think that the cover art that we've designed encapsulates that in a lot of ways. I remember
Yeah.
when we were initially talking about it, you had this concept of portals from the macro into the micro.
Yes. Also, unfortunately, one of our visual ideas for promo material stuff we didn't get to do, but if anyone's seen like Doctor Strange or what's the type of photography? Long exposure photography.
Light painting,
Yeah,
long exposure.
light painting with like something super bright and sparkly, and you make a circle with like a sparkler, and it looks like a portal. We wanted to do that kind of thing, but we just never found time, never made time.
Never got it to
So
work, but I do think that there's a beauty in what we've created in like the simplicity of the portals. It,
mhm.
it really
Yeah,
lets each window be a window, you know.
yeah, definitely.
So I love the art direction. I love the song. Um, yeah, I'm so thrilled that you've come back to Gradient and released with us again. I know you have your own label, World Tree,
Yeah,
but it's an honor to have you come home to Gradient every once in a while.
yeah, totally, man. I'm so glad to have released it with you guys.
For those of you who don't know, Nick also runs a label called World Tree with Villager, which is a fantasy dance music label, which is something that you guys are more or less pioneering. Do you want to talk
Yeah,
about that?
sure. So within electronic music, there's always sometimes, and some of it has been like a big sci-fi inspiration or like cyberpunk inspiration, which makes perfect sense because a lot of the music we hear from like Blade Runner or any classic sci-fi movie, it has in some way like electronic elements like that. But you know, with fantasy, we always associate that with like old things, like old instruments, old melodies.
There's a
Um,
precognitive bias towards
yes, a
strings
pre,
and
yeah,
yeah.
because like digital electronic music is like future synthesizers, and fantasy is very much like past folky usually. But there's a huge like untapped potential for bringing fantasy instruments, fantasy melodies, songwriting, lyrics, and visuals into dance music. And there are plenty of artists who both me and Villager like look up to, and who already make music that we would consider like fantasy inspired, but they don't necessarily do.
Right. They haven't
And funnily,
given the name to it yet.
no, they haven't. And funnily enough, Villager's old manager, whose name
Landon.
Landon,
Yes.
yes, he manages a bunch of I guess what are commonly known as color bass
Right.
artists. But his artists specifically, there's like two or three of them whose names also escape me, but I love their music.
I
I
know
like,
Ace Aura
yeah,
personally.
Ace Aura is one of them, and oh, I wish I remembered their names right now.
Unfortunately,
Oh,
I'm not super into the bass
yeah,
music world.
but their bass music is like super like it sounds
Right.
super fantasy inspired, and like having followed their projects a little bit, they're obviously like nerds like us too. Like
Right.
grew up playing Nintendo, like Zelda stuff
Mhm.
or Pokemon or
When you say
whatever.
fantasy inspired, um, what would you say in the Sonic fingerprint, if anything, is like what defines that for you?
Um, it's not. It's I think it's easier to just give
Yeah,
examples. So for the Great Divide, my single that just came out, it'd be those main
right.
bells. That's what started the project. The yeah, that, and just the ethereal ambience that also matches that melody. It's very like, I don't know. It's very
So in a way, it's more of
otherworldly.
like a feeling, or like a
Yes, in that song specifically, it's
yeah,
very subtle. It's very understated, which is more of my style, more the Forsetti style. Same thing with
yeah.
Warhorns, which is the lead track on my EP that came on out on World Tree last June. It's got an instrument called a sitar, setar, like a nice strum. That's like one of the main melodic hooks every 16 bars or something like that. And it's because we have this, preconception about what fantasy sounds like and etherealness and like old
Yes.
old music, like that instrument specifically, um, just really conveys like a sense of fantasy.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but
But I know that especially with you and villager stuff,
yeah,
there's
yeah,
always a sense of like, how can I use a colloquially understood instrument like a Moog, or like, serum or what have you, and make it sound fantastic.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's the thing. It could also be like the melodies you choose.
Right.
Um, in Warhorns, again, one of my songs during the breakdown, there's a melody that's very like Zelda inspired.
Right.
Um, even I've been told I've never played a Zelda game.
Oh, really?
Unfortunately, I've been
Oh
meaning
man.
to for a while. But yeah, the melody I wrote is very similar to one of the Zelda themes.
I wish that
But
I could. Hold on. I've got the Ocarina of Time Majora's Mask
ooh,
GameCube
nice.
and Wind Waker just at my disposal here because I have my. Here, I'll
Are
show
you
you.
are you gonna bring
I'm in
those home?
my GameCube box.
Oh my God. Are
Yeah,
you should bring those home so I can come over and play.
I know we should. We should definitely do a Nintendo day.
Oh, I'd
I
love
have that.
to.
I'm in my old studio in the East Coast right now. It's in shambles right now.
Hmm.
Maybe I'll have to fix it up and have like Graydient Studio East. Um,
Yeah,
but
headquarters, East
yeah,
office.
an East office. The West office is my current place. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. It
So
could be cool to have like a East Coast getaway. I need to get
yeah,
back out here more. Have you been out
and
this
to
way?
no, I've never been to the East Coast.
Oh
I've only
man.
been up and down the West Coast,
Well,
including Baja,
I
California,
know where we
Mexico.
have to go next.
Yeah, I'd love to visit.
Yeah,
It's definitely on my list.
definitely a completely different culture, but
Hmm.
there's a lot of really cool things about it.
Yeah,
So
I think I vibe with East Coast culture pretty hard. One of my coworkers at my regular job sold me on New York once. She was saying that like as opposed to LA where everything's very like uh, very social, um, like it's more important about social connections and how you
yeah,
interact with people. Whereas in New York, people don't care unless you show up and show that you're talented. Which
right, and
I mean, there's positives to both,
yeah,
but just for my own personality, I feel like that would fit
I
me
think
more.
that it's like encapsulates everything about living in LA versus the East Coast. It's there's a certain realness
Hmm.
and a certain fakeness, uh, uh, relatively speaking. Like the East Coast has a lot of like brutal honesty,
Yeah,
which can be like really aggressive,
yeah.
but also
I mean, I prefer it, man. Like,
I do too.
life is short. Just I
Whereas,
wanna fix things when I can. I
yeah,
wanna just like get on with it and like, do the best you
right.
can.
West Coast people are generally, no offense, pretty like artificial in terms of the things that are important to them, or like what they value in terms of creative energy.
Hmm.
But you are the exception, my Californian friend,
Yeah,
and I say this
and
as a migrant Californian myself.
yeah. Well, you two are definitely kind of uh, maybe not a diamond in the rough, but something like that.
Well, thank
Because
you. I appreciate it.
I was born, raised, currently live in LA, and like people who are born and raised here, there's definitely like that California chill for most of
Yeah.
us, which I think I've inherited. Whereas people who move here show up and like want to show off, or
Right.
maybe not show off. They just want to, they're eager to prove themselves, and so they build up a
Mhm.
persona of what they think Hollywood and the music industry is and should be.
Yes.
And so, yeah, I feel definitely feel like a disconnect between myself and that kind of persona.
I
But
think it's okay to have it to a degree, but you have to be grounded in what is reality and what is important to you.
yeah,
Like that I think is always my determining factor of like who I actually want to hang out with and the person I want to be, you know.
yeah,
I don't want to I don't want to gloat about things I do. I don't want to like wear that on my sleeve. I just want to be a genuine human being and connect with genuine human beings. I think that that's like
hmm
one of the reasons why we're friends.
yes, ditto.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, well, I guess for everyone who just tuned in, this is Forsetî, and he just released The Great Divide on my record label Graydient. Um, is there any last few things you want to say about the song before we wrap this thing up?
Hmm. Nah.
That's my eye.
Nah.
No,
I think the song speaks for itself.
no.
But I did want to say one more thing about fantasy dance music. It's such a,
Yes.
I believe it's such a vast, unexplored landscape. Like, Villager and I are sure starting it, pioneering it, but we just like crossed over the summit of a hill or a mountain and are now looking out at a vast, unexplored landscape. Is how I truly think about it. And
You've
carving a little
opened the floodgates.
I'm just carving my own small little path through it. And my path is like subtle, simple, striking. That's kind of like the Forsetti motto. But also, Villager and I together have a project called Feywild, and we had an album come out last year on our record label, and that album is like overtly, much more dramatically fantasy dance music. And
That's where
rather
you guys
than,
just show off the fantasy.
yes, that's where we show off like complete. It's like a from bottom to top, like all the melodies, the instruments, the arrangement, the lyrics, even like small mixing decisions are like inspired by fantasy and the story that we created for the album. So if you want to get like super into it, Feywild Realms Revealed,
You
check it out.
absolutely should.
Oh, and fun fact: the day that album came out was also the day Crone had a release on a Graydient too,
Yes,
and he was in town in LA,
yep.
and we had a little listening party at our place in
And I
the
was
valley.
there.
Yeah, all four of us were there and had a little
Does
listening
that
party. That was awesome.
exist on YouTube at all, or?
Yes, the when we listen to Realms Revealed,
Mhm.
that's on the World Tree YouTube,
Yep,
but our live videos of it on the World Tree page and the Gradient page should still exist, which
amazing.
include the Crone listen through
Yep,
too. And I think Katie
he's
was there
actually
too,
in the
your
chat.
partner. But
Hi,
yeah,
Crone.
he's there. What's up?
Yeah, Crone just released a track with us too
Yes,
called
last week
Need Time. Yep. Um,
we're release buddies again.
yep, yep. Yep, and he has one coming up actually too, which is funny. You're sandwiched in between two Crone releases,
Oh yeah,
so
right where
you
I want
guys
to
will
be.
hear more about you guys hear more about that as well in
Yeah,
the coming weeks.
and he sent me some of his IDs recently. I'm gonna probably include them in my mix coming up on Wednesday.
Super cool. It's really cool stuff. All right,
Yes.
all
Shout
right,
out
Nick.
Crone.
Well,
Check
I
him out.
think I'll let you go and celebrate some more time with your family for your mother.
Yes,
Um,
thank you.
and yeah, I'll probably be going to sleep because it's like midnight here in Maryland.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, happy Mother's Day to your mother and
Yes, and to
everybody's
yours as well.
mother in
Happy
the
Mother's
chat.
Day, everyone.
And yeah, go stream The Great Divide. Go celebrate Mother's Day in the best way possible by streaming The Great Divide on Spotify.
Yes. Show your mother.
Yeah,
All
she'll
right. Thanks,
she'll
Julian.
appreciate the artistry. All right,
And thanks, everyone,
all right,
for
Nick.
joining.
Yep, I'll see you, man. Bye,
All right.
everyone.
Take care, everyone.